admittedly, have not been the greatest father. I drowned myself in work throughout my children's childhoods and was not always present, though I did try to be as much as I could. My wife and I have been married for over 30 years and we have 2 children, a 30-year-old son, and a 29-year-old daughter. We were high school sweethearts and have an incredible marriage. She is the love of my life. She has been a stay-at-home mom/wife for most of our marriage. Our son lives at home with us, while our daughter on the other hand is estranged from us and has lived out of our home since she became an adult. My daughter and my wife have always butt heads like animals. It was extremely difficult being between them and trying to mend things. They just could not get along. My daughter has accused my wife of physical, emotional, and verbal abuse pretty much as long as we can remember. We had even attended family therapy when my daughter was in middle school, but the therapist determined that my daughter may be making things up for attention. This was also always furthered by the fact that our son has absolutely no issues with his mother, it is just our daughter. My wife is a strict woman, and I've had to have talks with her about reeling it in quite a few times because she could be quite harsh on the kids, but I have never seen or heard her abuse my daughter, just the typical fights between parents and children, chores, bad grades, smoking pot, dumb stuff that every kid does. My daughter claimed that my wife was physically abusive, slapping her around, throwing things, and was extremely verbally abusive, calling her fat, ugly, stupid, worthless, all things that my wife denied and definitely things I believe my wife would never say or do. I defended my wife to no end, but also tried my hardest to smooth things over with my daughter. She left home as soon as she was able, citing her mother as the reason and myself as being an enabler, and pretty much never looked back. She never returned home for longer than a day visit. She officially cut us off over a year ago after a fight with her mother over the phone that I did not witness, and we have not heard from her since. My wife told me that it was over a disagreement regarding a babysitting arrangement for my daughter's child, our only grandchild. Attempts to reconcile have not been responded to. She has even refused to meet when family members have passed away and did not attend their funerals. She also has since married, which means I missed my only daughter's wedding, not to mention also losing my relationship with my only grandchild. It has been a huge blow. I began therapy shortly after my daughter severed contact with us because I desperately needed to understand what was happening. My therapist has been great and has walked me through accepting this situation and grieving the loss of my relationship with my daughter. She helped me accept that I may not have done my best with my daughter, but that I cannot change what has happened, and all I can do is wait for my daughter to open up to me again. I decided to begin bringing my wife with me. My wife was extremely against therapy at the start, but decided to come along at my insistence, first together, and then on her own. I have since been going much less, but I check in every now and then. My wife recently asked me to come to a session to support her, where she and our therapist dropped a bomb on me. During their solo therapy sessions, they have been discussing and working on my wife accepting that she abused my daughter, after my wife apparently broke down and confided that everything my daughter said was true, and how to move through this and also potentially mending our relationship with my daughter. One of the first steps of this was for my wife to admit to me that everything my daughter said about her and their fights was true. My wife also admitted that the fight that ended our relationship with our daughter was because my wife had been calling our granddaughter fat and stupid during the already very rare visits my daughter allowed with granddaughter, who then told my daughter, and my daughter called my wife and informed her that our relationship was over. I am horrified and have no idea how to proceed. I ended up walking out of the session because it made me physically ill. For 20 years I defended my wife and believed her when she called my daughter a liar, screaming and yelling at my daughter for lying when my daughter was pleading for me to believe her. This is 100% my fault and I drove her away, and now I don't even know her phone number, her address, or how to reach her. I haven't heard my daughter's voice in over a year, and the last time she spoke to me she told me she never wanted to see me again, because I enabled this woman who tormented her for her entire life, and even then, I defended my wife. I hate myself more than anything in the world right now. My only daughter. I think my marriage is over. I'm staying with my brother currently and my wife has been calling me non-stop. Her voicemails range from begging to talk, to screaming about how I am not supporting her. My therapist also called and left a message suggesting we try to have another session to move forward, but also encouraged me to take my time. I know I am also at fault. I should have listened and believed my daughter. But I didn't and can't change that, and I just want to know where to go from here. Please, I need advice. I feel physically sick. This is so much to bear. Anything helps. Update. Apologies. I deleted my last post because it gained way more traction than I anticipated and I was worried my son would find it and cause some problems before any final decisions were made. I don't care about that anymore though, because I have decided to divorce my wife. I read all of your comments and took them to heart, even the very harsh ones. I appreciated every single one. I did want to clarify a few things. 1. I was only uncertain about divorcing my wife because I simply did not even know where to begin. I was reeling from the therapy session and was very confused and honestly, a little afraid. I had to face that I don't actually know the woman I was married to for 30 years and I don't know what she's capable of. I have my faults, yes, 100%, but I loved and trusted my wife. I knew I needed to leave but I simply didn't know how. So many other things were running through my head as well, money, assets, explaining this to our families. After 30 plus years of marriage, it was a lot to sort out by myself and I needed some guidance to make sure I did it right. I've decided that I don't care what it takes and I don't intend on lying to save images from our families. 2. I did ask my son about the abuse allegations. I would ask him what he saw or heard and he has always stood by his mother. My son has no relationship with his sister. As I mentioned in a previous comment, they never got along. The fact that this was because he was the golden child was something that I only recently became aware of and something that I have been addressing in therapy. He stood by his mother and would back her up during fights. When my daughter and wife would be fighting, he could come to me and tell me that his sister was lying, that he was there and saw what happened and that his mother did not hit or berate his sister. He would say that his sister was throwing a fit or being a bitch over my wife making a normal request, don't be out late, do your homework first, etc. Ashamedly, I believed the two of them because of a fucked up majority rules type of thing. I had two people I loved and trusted both telling me the same story. I am not proud of that, but that was the way I saw it. As adults, my daughter has refused to speak to my son and would not come to the house if he was home. My son does not care and has not tried to mend his relationship with her. The blow-up of this is reaching gargantuan levels. My wife got to my son first because I was not in the home, and he is refusing my calls. I left him a voicemail asking him to keep his mind open and that I'm here to talk whenever he is ready. My wife, on the other hand, has not stopped calling, and her voicemails and texts range from losing her shit to begging to talk. I will be meeting with a new therapist and continuing therapy. When my divorce is finalized, and if my therapist thinks it's a good idea and that I'm ready, I will try to find a way to reach out to my daughter. I do not wish to stalk her or hire a private investigator, which has been suggested here. That seems very invasive to me and I feel as if it would only frighten my daughter and drive her away further. I don't know how else I can do it, but I'll figure that out, since it likely won't be for a very long time. Thank you for all your advice. I'm happy to answer any questions or provide more info now that my mind is more clear. Let's dive into the second story. Story 2. I'm planning on abandoning my family as soon as I turn 18. My family sucks. I, 17M, turn 18 in 2 weeks and I'm getting the fuck out of here as soon as the clock strikes midnight. My parents have extreme bias towards my younger brothers, 16 and 15M. It's been like this forever. I have no idea why. I've always been the one who had to do all the chores in the house. I also have always been forced to play every single sport I possibly could to the point where my schedule was packed 365 days a year. My father told me it would teach me to be a real man. But my brothers never had to do any of that shit. They're both fat lazy fucks who sit around and play video games all day and all night. They miss school at least 30% of the year and are constantly spoiled rotten by my parents. They already have thousands of dollars from birthdays, Christmas, and other holidays. As soon as I turned 12, I was told I would no longer ever be receiving any gifts from my parents other than bare essentials. I was told I had to pay for my phone and any other expenses I wanted to own and to never ever ask for anything. I wasn't able to own a phone or anything really special for myself until I was 16 because I couldn't find any actual jobs that paid good money. My parents also expect me to take care of my younger brothers when I'm an adult. My younger brothers have both decided they will not be going to college and do not plan on working a day in their lives. My father told me we kept you alive, you owe it to us. Fuck you. I'm leaving a nasty letter on the table when I leave and changing my phone number, emails, and everything. They will never be able to contact me no matter how hard they try. I know my younger brothers are going to be screwed for life since they have zero experience on how to survive in the real world, but I don't care. That's my parents' burden now. I hope they go broke from having to fund my brothers' lifestyles and I hope they lose everything. I have no sympathy for these people and I will never feel bad no matter what happens to them. The only thing I owe to my parents is the fact that because of the shitty treatment over the years, I am well capable of surviving on my own in the world. I'll be going to college to study finance in Virginia. They have no idea I've been accepted to any college, never even asked, and I'm also very physically fit due to playing 6 sports a year. However, the trauma will never go away. They took away my entire childhood and I will never forgive them for it. They can all go fuck themselves. Update. I'm happy to report that I am officially gone. So the last 2 weeks after I made this post have been crazy stressful, but I'll sum them up here. I changed my number a few days ago by calling my SIM card provider. Then I went and got a copy of my birth certificate since I don't know where my actual birth certificate was. I couldn't just ask my parents, and I also made sure to check that my bank account was secure and not shared with my parents. I purchased a plane ticket last week to fly into Dulles International Airport in Virginia, just outside of where I'll be attending college in Fairfax. Finally, I called one of my cousins, whom I am very close with, and asked him to please pick me up at around 12:30 a.m. last night. He agreed with my decision to leave and told me he was proud of me for taking action to improve my life. I packed my stuff up after everyone had gone to sleep and waited. I decided to keep my note to my family short and sweet. All I wrote down was that I was moving to go to college in California, Lamau, and that I was never coming back. So, last night my cousin picked me up. We went to the police station where I gave them my proper identification and informed them that I am not missing and am leaving on my own accord now that I am 18. They told me they'll keep it in mind and will watch out for that potential call in the next few days. I got a few hours of sleep at my cousin's and then flew out of New Orleans International at 6 a.m. I am now sitting in my college dorm 950 miles from home and I've never been happier in my life. I can't wait to meet new people and finally enjoy my youth. Thank you to everyone who gave me great advice on here and commented their support. I didn't expect this post to take off like it did, but I'm happy my story has affected so many. I will update again in a few weeks. Update 2. Damn. This post took off again these past 2 days. My phone has been blowing up with demands for an update, so I shall deliver. Life has been good. I've been in contact with the cousin who helped me and also a few other family members from back home. He said that my mother came to their house the day after I left to talk to my aunt about me leaving. She cried and gave my aunt this whole sob story about how she can't believe I would abandon them, and my aunt told her maybe she shouldn't have treated me so wrongly throughout my whole life, which caused a huge fight and ended with my mom being thrown out of their house. So it seems me leaving has caused pretty much the uproar I imagined. I've been doing well, met plenty of new people and made friends via classes and dorm neighbors. I'm in a better mental state than I've been in a very long time. I feel so relieved and it just feels like a huge weight is lifted off my shoulders. It feels so good coming on here and reading all the support and positive comments I'm receiving. I'm really grateful for this community. I will continue posting updates in weeks to come. Thanks for everything, everyone. Edit, as promised, I am here for another update. I waited a long time in between updates to really let my life unfold so I could fill you guys in on a lot. Things have been great. I went back into my hometown for Thanksgiving and Christmas to spend time with my aunts, uncles, and cousins. Literal blocks away from my parents' house, but they are not welcome at those events anymore, so I wasn't worried. They still don't know where I am or what I'm up to and have apparently given up on trying, which I'm perfectly happy about. College has been great, made lots of new friends and have been keeping the grades up, 3.9 GPA. I love my new life, honestly. I never went to therapy or anything, despite numerous suggestions from some of you, but I feel like I've done well enough without it. I've learned in these months how resilient I really am. I got 2 jobs on the side at different restaurants in the town around campus, mostly dishwashing and working on salads. Simple stuff, but I'm making enough side cash to provide for myself. Since I got a free ride to JMU, I don't have to worry about a college savings account or anything, so that's a huge plus. Thanks for all the continued support and comments over the last few months while I've been silent. I hope you guys enjoy the update. I'll be back someday. Much love. I am flaring this concluded as OP has escaped his abusive family and made it safely to his college. If you've made it to this point, you're a beast. Don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to the channel. As always, see you in the next video.